And now we'll hear from Pietro Michelucci, who's with the Human Computation Institute.
Hello. So first, I'd like to thank the organizers for their vision and hard work. This is possibly the most well-organized event I've ever attended. And I'm also grateful to this panel. It's been an honor to work with them. We all share an affliction, right? Mortality. And of course, a key indicator of this affliction is chronic aging, which may entail dementia in the later stages. So in a sense, it's a shared plight of mortality and its effects that bonds us. And what's amazing to me, as I look around this room, is the palpable sense of being part of something big, something that will make a difference to me, my family, and friends, and to humanity. And I wonder if you share this feeling. So hold that thought. So my brief story today, I guess we're a panel of storytellers here, begins with my colleague Janice Dickinson, who's the director of citizen science at the Cornell Lab of Ornithology. Janice was attending a Cornell function when she met Chris Schaefer, an Alzheimer researcher in the Department of Biomedical Engineering. She suggested I follow up with him about a possible citizen science project. So I met Chris, and I learned about his recent groundbreaking discoveries, which are in preparation, that may finally provide an understanding of the mechanism for reduced brain blood flow in Alzheimer. So Chris's lab found that leukocytes adhere in a few % of the capillaries in the brains of transgenic Alzheimer mice, but not in controls. Just holding it upside down. So these adhesions cause inflammation, resulting in stalled capillaries, which produce substantial downstream effects. When leukocytes were depleted, eliminating these stalled capillaries, blood flow increased by about 20%, essentially back to control levels. So the blood flow increase associated with Alzheimer's is likely cognitively significant, and it almost certainly decreases amyloid beta clearance and thus accelerates disease progression. Chris's work has identified a clear cellular mechanism for this blood flow decrease, setting the stage for additional research to identify molecular pathways and potential therapeutic targets. Notably, treating this blood flow deficit would be complementary to anti-amyloid therapies. So Chris explained that key to these discoveries was the use of new visualization techniques that enable in vivo real-time imagery of microvessel flow in transgenic AD mice. And he went on to explain that this capability comes with a price: lots of manual data curation. He said that each microvessel needs to be annotated as either stalled or flowing, and that machine-based methods are simply inadequate. In fact, for each hour of data collection, it takes a person in the lab an entire week to properly annotate the data. So I asked, why is this a problem? It sounds like you've already made the relevant discoveries. And he explained that a series of research questions still need to be addressed in order to arrive at pharmaceutical targets based on these recent discoveries, and began to list them. 1, simply removing all leukocytes is untenable as a treatment option, so we need to find out which kind of leukocytes are complicit. 2, we need to determine the distribution of stalls relative to the location of amyloid plaques. 3, identify the molecular pathways that lead to adhesion. 4, measure blood flow improvement associated with blocking the adhesion of the complicit leukocyte. And 5, assess cognitive improvement associated with decreased capillary stalling. So we did the math and determined that in order to answer these research questions, curating the required imagery manually would take approximately 60 years. So I said, send me the imagery. I took one look and said, I've done this. I know this project. This is basically Stardust at Home. So Stardust at Home was developed in 2006 to address the need to find a handful of micrometer scale comet dust trails captured in aerogel by the 2002 NASA Stardust mission. So Andrew Westphal at Berkeley built a citizen science platform to crowdsource the analysis of 30 million aerogel images to 30,000 online public participants, which resulted in the discovery of seven extrasolar particles that have challenged current interstellar dust models. So in Stardust, participants use a virtual microscope to focus up and down through layers of aerogel to look for dust particle traces. And I realized that this same mechanism could in practice be applied to Chris's microvessel flow imagery. Realizing the potential implications, I immediately called Andrew Westphal, who after receiving the AD imagery said, yes, and how can I help? So I went back to Chris and said, we can reduce your manual curation time by orders of magnitude by crowdsourcing this analysis to the general public using a citizen science platform. And Chris was receptive to this idea, realizing that this would also provide educational opportunities and an emotional outlet that could be of great value to some caregivers. But then Chris pointed out that there was another bottleneck in the data analysis process. In order to analyze the individual microvessels in a useful way, they had to be located within a 3D topology of the microvasculature. And currently, he said, they were using machine-based methods to develop an 80% accurate model, but that it still needed humanized to get to a 100% model. So again, I said, send me the imagery. So after taking one look at this imagery, I said, I know this one too. This is the EyeWire project. The EyeWire project involves complex network topology tracing in order to map neural connectivity in the retina. Moreover, they have an active community of about 100,000 participants, and it's working. The neural network architecture they've collaboratively built using this platform is sufficiently accurate and detailed to enable a new understanding of the mechanisms that underlie motion detection in mammalian vision. So we called Sebastian Sung at his new Princeton office and explained the situation. And he said, let's get started. Send some images, and we'll try out our pre-processing algorithms on them. So as you can imagine, we were elated about both the apparent adaptability of these successful platforms to the Schaefer's Lab analytic pipeline, the large potential user base of participants from these platforms, and most importantly, the immediate high level of commitment from the progenitors of those platforms to help us accelerate this Alzheimer research. So once the dust settled, we did the math. I guess I already clicked and gave it away. By adapting EyeWire and Stardust at Home to these analytic bottlenecks, we expect to reduce the manual curation time by a factor of about 25. So thanks to citizen science, in about 2 years instead of 60, we hope to identify a treatment target for improving brain blood flow in Alzheimer's disease, which could both acutely improve cognitive performance and even delay onset or slow progression of the disease by improving the amyloid beta clearance. So though we are awaiting support decisions due to the potential near-term impact, we felt morally compelled to move forward. So the project is underway on a volunteer basis in partnership with SciStarter.com, a major citizen science portal, and a Discover Magazine affiliate. We've pioneered a pre-registration mechanism that has already begun accumulating a list of names and email addresses of people who have signed up to participate. Also, we're actively sharing pilot data with our platform collaborators and have designed a prototype task model for the vessel annotation task. Okay, I might need some help from the control booth to animate, click on the box in the lower right. Anyone? here it comes. The green box there you go. Just, yep, perfect. Thanks. So the job of the annotator, can you click one more time? Is to tell whether or not the vessel outline in black is stalled or flowing. I don't know how the contrast is on this. It gives you some insight into what this might be like from the experience, from the perspective of a participant. So if you remember at the beginning of the presentation, I asked you to hold on to that thought of what it feels like to be part of this amazing summit. Citizen science projects give the general public, including patients and caregivers, an opportunity to have the same feeling of being part of something bigger and of making a real difference in the world. Thanks.